The Costa Concordia was launched in 2005. It was Italy's largest cruise ship at that time, measuring 951 feet long or 290 meters. She had a passenger capacity of 3,780. She was known for her luxuries. She featured 4 swimming pools, a casino, and reportedly the largest spa on a ship. In July 2006, the vessel undertook her maiden voyage, a 7-day cruise of the Mediterranean Sea, with stops in Italy, France, and Spain. That became her standard route. On January 13, 2012, she left Civitavecchia, Italy, at approximately 7:18 p.m. On board were 1,023 crew members and 3,206 passengers. As she approached Giglio Island several hours later, she diverted from its standard course, moving closer to a small Tuscan island for a maritime salute, a common practice that included the cruise ship sounding its horn. She had performed several of these in the past. The area was known for rock outcroppings, and at some point, such a formation was noticed in the ship's path. The captain of more than 7 years ordered a change in course, but due to language issues, the Indonesian helmsman steered the boat in the opposite direction. It reportedly took 13 seconds to correct the maneuver. The boat's bow ultimately swung clear, but the stern collided with the reef at approximately 9:45 p.m. Confusion on the bridge resulted in conflicting orders, but the damage had been done. The Cordonia's port side had suffered a 174-foot long or 53-meter long tear. The assessment of the damage revealed that 5 compartments, including the engine room, were flooding. The ship soon lost power. In addition, with neither the engine nor the rudder functioning, the ship could not be steered. However, the wind and the position of the rudder caused her to turn back towards the island. While the change in direction made the later rescue easier, it caused the ship to start listing to the starboard side. The drifting Concordia eventually ran aground near the shore. During this time, a panicked passenger contacted her daughter in Italy, and the Italian Coast Guard called the Concordia at about 10:14 p.m. The captain, however, downplayed the damage, only noting that the vessel had experienced a blackout. Some 10 minutes later, the Coast Guard contacted the ship again, and at this time the crew admitted that the vessel was taking on water. However, the captain's only request was for tugboats. At 10:39 p.m., the first rescue vessel arrived. Approximately 15 minutes later, the captain finally ordered the ship to be abandoned, though according to reports, lifeboats had already been launched. At around 11:20 p.m., the captain left the bridge and soon after abandoned the ship. He subsequently claimed that he fell off the Concordia and landed in a lifeboat. Some 13 minutes later, the last crew member departed the bridge, even though approximately 300 people were still on the ailing vessel. By 12 a.m. on January 14th, the Concordia had a severe list, making the release of the lifeboats difficult and forcing many others to use ladders. At 12:40 a.m., the Coast Guard called the captain, who was in a lifeboat with the other Concordia officers, and ordered him to return to the vessel and oversee the evacuation. He refused. By that time, however, the rescue operations included 25 patrol boats, 14 merchant vessels, and numerous helicopters. And by early morning, 4,194 people were evacuated and taken to Giglio Island, which had a permanent population of less than 1,000. At 6:17 a.m. on January 14th, search efforts were temporarily suspended. But the following day, divers rescued 3 more from inside the vessel. They were the remaining survivors. 32 people died in the disaster, and the last body was not recovered until November of 2014. Almost immediately, questions were raised concerning the conduct of the captain and the crew officers. In July of 2013, 4 crew members and a crisis coordinator pled guilty to various charges, including manslaughter. They received sentences of less than 3 years. That same month, the captain went on trial after being denied a plea bargain. He was charged with manslaughter, as well as causing the wreck and abandoning ship. During the 19-month trial, prosecutors claimed that he was an idiot, while the captain countered that his actions had saved lives and that he was being scapegoated. In addition, he noted the steering error by the helmsman. But a maritime expert testified that regardless of the mistake, the collision was unavoidable. In February of 2015, the captain was convicted on all charges and sentenced to more than 16 years in prison. He appealed the verdict, but it was upheld on May of 2017, and that's when he began serving his sentence. With Galileo Island laying in a protected marine area, environmental issues relating to the wreck were a particular concern. The vessel was on the edge of an underwater cliff, leading to worries that the ship might slip and break apart, causing an oil spill. To lessen the potential damage, oil booms were placed around the wreck, and in February of 2012, salvage workers began removing more than 2,000 tons of fuel. The undertaking was completed the following month. During this time, work also began to remove the vessel in what was the largest maritime salvage operation in history. It was not until September of 2013 that the 114,000-ton ship was finally righted. The 19-hour process involved specially built underwater platforms, cranes, and some 500 people. In July of 2014, she was outfitted with a number of steel containers serving as flotation devices, and was then towed to Italy, where she was dismantled for scrapping. This was an unbelievable disaster, where 32 people unfortunately lost their life. The captain was extremely lucky. He fell off this giant ship and landed in a lifeboat. Definitely luck was on his side that night. The courts found him guilty and gave him 16 years in jail, which was well deserved. But when you think about it, that's only 6 months for every person who lost their life. Somehow, that just doesn't seem fair. Rest in peace to all those people who lost their life in this terrible tragedy, and condolences to their families.